Hello, hello. Hi, Keisha.
Hello, Stephanie.
Hi, listeners. Welcome back to The Thought Tapestry. Where we get on here and talk about history and then chop it up about our thoughts on just about everything. Today's episode will be no different. So I'll go ahead and get started. So my history is actually a twofer today. And I'm just going to kind of dive right in, and soon you will all understand where this is headed. So, in August of 1955, Emmett Till left his home in the Chicago area to visit relatives in the Mississippi Delta. On August 24th, after spending the day picking cotton with his cousins, Emmett ducked into a store to buy bubble gum. White Mississippians expected black customers to leave money on the counter, but Emmett, being from the North, didn't understand this protocol, and so he put the money for the gum directly into the hand of white store owner Carolyn Bryant. Bryant would testify that she stormed out of the store to get a pistol from her car, while Emmett, his cousin Simeon Wright, and friend Ruthie Mae Crawford ran away. 4 days later, Bryant's husband, Roy, and J.W. Millam took Emmett at gunpoint from the Wright home, drove to a barn almost an hour away, and tortured him. Emmett was then shot in the head, his body tossed into the Tallahatchie River with a 75-pound cotton gin fan tied around his neck with barbed wire. When his body was found days later, only a silver ring on one finger could be used to identify the remains. Emmett had been pistol whipped, his wrist had been broken, and he was brutally maimed. The local sheriff sought to have the body buried immediately before news left the area, an action that was stopped through the efforts of his mother, Mammy. When he was laid to rest, upwards of 50,000 people attended the funeral, and Mammy allowed pictures of Emmett's mutilated corpse in the open casket to be published, because, as she put it, when people saw what had happened to this little 14-year-old boy, they knew then that not only were black men in danger, but black children as well. Roy Bryant and Millam were put on trial, and after 5 days and a single hour of jury deliberation, the men were acquitted by an all-white, all-male jury. That acquittal meant that they could not be retried for the crime, even after confessing to Look magazine that they had tortured and murdered the young boy. Instead of going to prison for their horrific actions, they each earned $4,000, that would be about $47,000 today, for telling their story. Now, the miscarriage of justice proved a galvanizing point in the civil rights movement. That's where Rod Serling comes into play. Now, Rod was a 30-year-old rising star in the golden age of dramatic television, and he had watched the events play out in the news. He believed firmly in the media's power for social justice, stating, "The writer's role is to be a minister of the public's conscience. He must have a position, a point of view. He must see the arts as a vehicle of social criticism, and he must focus on the issues of his time." Soon after the trial concluded, Serling, writing off the success of his most well-received teleplay to date, felt compelled to write a teleplay around the racism that led to Till's murder. Mm-hmm. But the censorship that followed by advertisers and networks, fearful of blowback from white Southern audiences, forced Serling to rethink his approach. His response ultimately was The Twilight Zone, the iconic anthology series that spoke truth to the era's social ills and tackled themes of prejudice, bigotry, nuclear fears, war, among so many others. Few examples tell Serling's struggles better than his attempt to bring the Till tragedy to television. Aware that he'd have to make concessions to get the script on screen, he sold the representatives on a story of a Jewish pawnbroker's lynching in the South, and Serling actually was of Jewish descent. When the idea was greenlit, he worked on the script as well as an adaptation for Broadway, where he knew he'd have a little more freedom to tell Till's story more directly, centering the plot around a black victim. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, Serling misjudged how restrictive 1950s television could be. After he mentioned that his script in progress was based on the Till murder trial in an interview with the Daily Variety, papers around the country picked up the story. Thousands of angry letters and wires from the likes of white supremacist organizations followed, threatening both the U.S. Still Hour, an hour-long anthology series on ABC, who quickly caved and ordered changes to Serling's script. Recounting the incident several years later during an interview with journalist Mike Wallace on the eve of the premiere of The Twilight Zone, Serling described it as a systematic dismantling of his story. He said it was gone over with a fine-tooth comb by over 30 people, and he was left to attend at least 2 meetings a day for over a week, taking notes as to what had to be changed. Station owners and advertising agencies were afraid to offend any segment of the white audiences, even racist, for fear of losing income. And right? And like 70 years later, very, very little has changed. As television gained a national audience in the 1950s, the creative freedoms that permeated the earliest days of the medium were quickly being pushed out in an attempt to sell to an all-white consumer market. Black purchasing power wasn't yet taken into account. And again, I say, nearly 70 years later, very little has changed. When Serling's teleplay Noon on Doomsday finally aired on April 25th, 1956, any hint of the South was removed from the plot. Not even a Coca-Cola bottle could appear, lest viewers invoke the idea of the region.
What?
Instead, yeah, that's crazy, right? Because, you know, Coca-Cola is based in Atlanta. And that's a whole thing, which maybe we'll get into. Instead, the opening crawl made clear that the story was set in New England. Really, all that mattered was that it was set far away from the South. I'm convinced, Serling said in the Wallace interview, they would have gone up to Alaska or the North Pole, except I suppose the costume problem was a sufficient severity not to attempt it.
Oh my.
The victim was now depicted as an unknown foreigner. Further, Serling fumed. It was suggested that the killer in the case was not a psychotic malcontent, but just a good, decent American boy momentarily gone wrong. How familiar does that sound?
It sounds so familiar.
Okay, so it should be noted that some details of this ordeal might be exaggerations on Serling's part or conflicts of the 2 scripts he was working on simultaneously for stage and screen. The foundation in his name, a board member said that in his recent biography, that a good deal of myth has crept into the narrative surrounding the production of Noon on Doomsday. For instance, the Jewish Southerner that Serling said was initially cast as a victim, he writes, actually appeared in a draft of the theatrical script, and the unknown foreigner was already in the initial telepath. So there's a little, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They weren't sure whether it was the play or the actual television script. Needless to say, we all know that there was a lot of pushback about this story, and we all know why. We don't have to pretend that nearly 70 years later, you know? So whatever the case, by the time everything was said and done, the message that aired in the teleplay of Noon on Doomsday was thin and garbled. When Serling read the New York Times review of it, he realized just how so. In a letter to a friend, he wrote, "I felt like I got run over by a truck and then it backed up to finish the job." Meanwhile, his relationship with the theater guild, whom he'd sold an option of the Broadway script and also produced the teleplay, had soured. Despite attempts to salvage it, the theatrical version of the story was not performed or published in his lifetime. That said, Serling was not done with the Till tragedy. Once again, this time for CBS's Playhouse 90 series, he attempted to tell the story of a lynching in a small town, that's this time setting the plot in the Southwest. Again, CBS executives pushed back, and he had to move the story back 100 years, erase any direct allusion to Till, and any black and white racial dynamics in the script. Unlike Doomsday, however, this production, titled A Town Has Turned to Dust, still communicated, if more universally, Serling's desired message on prejudice and hatred. The closing soliloquy, delivered by a journalist signing off a telegram to his editor, already had the feel of the best Twilight epilogue Serling himself would go on to deliver. And it was this. Dempseyville got rain tonight for the first time in 4 months, but it came too late. The town had already turned to dust. It had taken a look at itself, crumbled and disintegrated.
Dang.
Because what it saw was the ugly picture of prejudice and violence. 2 men died within 5 minutes and 50 feet of each other only because human beings have the perverse and strange way of not knowing how to live side by side. Until they do, this story that I am writing now will have no end, but must go on and on. Isn't that wild, girl? How relevant this still is. When I was researching this, it actually made me kind of ill because it's like, well, damn.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
We really like to think of progress as this thing that continues, but only if people continue it.
Yeah.
Anyway, the lesson Serling took from the experiences of Doomsday and Dust laid the groundwork for what was to come in the Twilight Zone. As Serling himself later put, if you want to do a piece about prejudice against Black people, you go instead with Mexicans and set it in 1890 instead of 1959. Serling had also learned his lesson from his earlier dust-up with the Daily Variety. In this interview with Wallace, he demurred about whether or not his new show would explore controversial themes. We're dealing with a half-hour show which cannot probe like a Playhouse 90 production, which doesn't use scripts as vehicles of social criticism. They are strictly for entertainment, he claimed. After Wallace followed up, accusing him of giving up on writing anything important for television, Serling easily agreed. If by important you mean I'm not going to try to delve into current social problems dramatically, you're quite right. I'm not, he said. Of course, that couldn't have been further from the case. His missteps with adapting the Till tragedy for television forced him to realize that to confront issues of race, prejudice, war, politics, and human nature on television, he'd have to do so through a filter. As his daughter Jodie explains, he realized to get the point or a controversial message across that you had to do it in a certain way. He did feel that it was criminal for writers not to be permitted to address the social evils that exist. The networks and the sponsors did not interfere with the Twilight Zone because they didn't realize what my father was trying to convey. Essentially, the series was a Trojan horse, delivering Serling's messages under the guise of a fictional world, and the simplers simply rubber stamped it. The Twilight Zone is actually a term Serling borrowed from the U.S. military because he'd served time. He was a U.S. Army paratrooper in World War II, an experience that marked many of the stories he went on to write. And he knew it referred to the moment a plane comes down and cannot view the horizon. As the title of the anthology drama, it spoke to his mission for the show, to be able to tell bold stories about the human conditions on screen by obscuring the view somehow. The Twilight Zone became one of TV's most iconic series, airing between 1959 and 1964, and sired several revivals and adaptations with mixed results. The Till murder case was officially closed by the Department of Justice in 2021, and a push to indict Carolyn Bryant in August 2022 on kidnapping and manslaughter charges related to the murder was declined due to insufficient evidence. Bryant also denied having recanted the damning statements at the original trial. A movie about the murder and the aftermath Till was released in 2022. Serling did finally share his take on Till in the classic episode, I Am the Night, Color Me Black. And his closing narration is just as true now as it was then. And it reads, a sickness known as hate, not a virus, not a microbe, not a germ, but a sickness nonetheless, highly contagious, deadly in its effects. Do not look for it in the Twilight Zone. Look for it in a mirror. Look for it before the light goes out altogether. And I just wanted to, I actually love the Twilight Zone. And I hadn't until recently even known kind of about how it was inspired. And so I did a little research, and then when I realized that it was just a journalist, and most of the time it is, looking to kind of speak words to truth, I was like, I want to dive in it a little bit more. And I love the fact that this Jewish man was willing to go to bat for this kid when no one else would, over and over and over. And whether or not the racists realize it, Till's legacy doesn't just endure historically for the Black culture, but it also endures in media in this beautiful, beautiful way.
Mm-hmm. Stephanie, that was quite, yeah, like you said, when you started, like, it kind of makes you feel a little like, oh, it's a lot to take in.
Mm-hmm. It's really a lot to take in. All of it. All of it.
Girl, from the beginning to the end of it, it just goes to show you that these people, how in the, and that's what I'm saying. What people have to understand how we relate to each other and how we feed off of one another.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
And another question, maybe a little bit early, but the Twilight Zone, like as a vehicle in itself, that was like a brilliant idea.
Mm-hmm. Really cool.
I mean, I don't even know if could you think of a more brilliant idea? I don't know.
I actually can't. And I love the fact, the thing that I love about it is that I had no idea that the Twilight Zone, that phrase was a military phrase. And right. I love how it is basically kind of you're crashing down and you can't see the horizon. I just love kind of all of that, the symbolism there. Mm-hmm. But I think it's so crazy that all he had to do was play dumb. Mm-hmm. All he had to do was like dumb himself down because I'm just going to say it. Racism is idiotic. So he had to bring himself down to their level. Mm-hmm. And then they gobble it up. They just gobble it up.
They were like,
oh, this is so good. I'm learning so much. And it's like, meanwhile, it's about you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I didn't realize, because for some reason, and I think for a lot of people this is probably the case, but the murder of Emmett Till hits me in a way that a lot of the atrocities that our people continue to face don't. And I think it's just because this poor innocent kid, like he literally was because this is 1955, right? This is well after slavery, right? We're supposed to be free. They keep telling us you're free, you're free. You live in an equal society. This is all what they're saying on the surface. But this kid travels from Chicago just to go visit some cousins and loses his life because he made the mistake, and I use that term loosely, of interacting with a white woman in a way that they didn't see that he should have.
Girl.
And the thing about it is these types of unspoken rules still exist. They have they've been converted from kind of this overt, way of being to more covert. And I think that's what systemic racism is, right? It's like the rules aren't spoken out loud anymore. They just kind of write them into bylaws, into like way that you get mortgages or the way that you get jobs or the way that you know what I mean? They didn't go away. They just kind of changed them.
All the way out, girl.
Yep. And they still exist.
So crazy.
Mm-hmm. They still exist. So that's what I thought was pretty crazy, is because like this story could literally have been written today. All of it. Everything about it. The Jewish guy trying to talk about racial injustice to the Black community. Advertisers saying, no, we don't want to do that because we don't want to offend the white people. You know what I mean? Even just the kid getting freaking lynched. Because let's be honest, there are quite a few Black people that go missing across the country. But true. Definitely in the South. And how? We don't know how that's happening. But I'm almost positive they do.
A little network.
They do.
They do. And they do be getting away with everything.
Everything. And they have forever. Everything is always centered on them. And I think that's kind of one of the reasons that we're starting to feel a lot of unrest, is because they're starting to feel that there's a shift in terms of like the focus, right? Mm-hmm. It really is starting to be about everyone, and Lord knows they hate that. Mm-hmm. They hate that. So much so that we've got a government that is bringing in white settlers, that is literally bringing in white people from other countries to settle into this country. Yeah. Because God forbid they not be the majority. And the thing about that is, it's like, if you ask a white person why they care so much, like what bothers them so much about like Blackness specifically, it's because they know how they don't want to experience how it feels to be a minority.
Right.
They would never in a million years trade places with the Black person, even though they'll tell you to your face, scream to your face that we're equal, that we should just get over it, that racism doesn't exist, so forth and so on. But if you ever said, walk a mile in my shoes, they would fucking choke on their spit because they couldn't do it, and they will never admit why, but we know.
Yeah.
We know why.
Po Black folk.
It's crazy, right? It's crazy. I'm like, I don't understand why we just can't live. Like, why can't y'all just let us live, you know?
Yeah.
And then there's this whole trend on, on TikTok. Have you heard about it? It's like Black fatigue.
Yes.
Like, y'all are tired? You have the fucking audacity to say you're tired?
Girl, I want a list of what y'all been doing. Oh, we already know.
We already know. And it's just crazy to me because I'm like, Black fatigue is just basically the fact that you're seeing Black people live out loud and you hate it. That's it.
Absolutely hate it.
You hate it. They hate the fact that we're boots on the ground. They hate the fact that that a lot of people are getting ready to celebrate Beyonce. They hate the fact that like the Black women have called ourselves the 92% and chosen to sit out. They hate the fact that we're, again, centering ourselves and not them. And that is what's making them tired. Because if our focus isn't on them, and if we start to really move into our own spaces, where does that leave them? Yeah. Because that's the thing about white supremacy, is it is only propped up against Blackness. Yeah. Like if Blackness, if they don't have accessibility to Blackness, then they're just left amongst themselves. And what is there then? Like, what is that? You know what I mean? I was thinking about this literally this morning, and I forget what triggered it or what made me think about it, but it was like, if Black people, literally, if we like segregated and moved kind of on and we really kind of start living in our spaces, white people, their culture would almost kind of like dissolve. And that's because they don't they don't really have like, their culture is they don't have community. Like they don't understand community. And I'll give you a perfect example.
Come on with it.
So I was on TikTok and I was watching this really sad story about this older white woman. I think she had to have been in like her 60s, maybe 70s. And she's homeless, girl, living in her car. It's like the saddest thing. And the news is reporting on this story. And then they go to have a conversation with a Black woman. And the Black woman is like, I'm trying everything I can to get her out of that car and get her into a house, yada, 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 so forth and so on. And all I could think about in my head was like, this is a white woman. Where is her community?
Where
are her kinfolk? Every single time it's going to be a Black woman that comes in and says, I'm here to help. What can I do? And it's because they don't understand community. Community to them is just competition. I think that's what keeping up with the Joneses means, right? It's like looking over the fence to make sure that I'm better than you. And that's not how Black people operate. If we're looking over the fence,
in it trying to see what you got.
Yes.
What?
They really do.
You have art?
There's music. How do they live?
What?
Yeah. They don't understand community. And so that's also why I think that while they want to say that they love segregation, they could never really live without it, or they can never really live with it, because again, their whole structure crumbles.
It does.
We are the weave and the net that keeps everything upheld. They'll never admit it, but it's true. Because white people just aren't out there caping for white people like that. Another perfect example is, I don't know if you're keeping up with all this Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark stuff, but they're basically basketball players in the WNBA, and they have been rivals for a really long time. It's just competition. They're neck and neck in terms of kind of their skills, so forth and so on. And I think Angel, who is the Black woman, pulled ahead just a little bit. I think she got like MVP and all kinds of things where people thought that Caitlyn, who is the white woman, should have gotten it. And so they had a game recently. And I think Angel plays for New York Liberty and Caitlyn plays for Indiana Fever. And so they had a game in Indiana.
What a name.
Girl. So they had a game in Indiana, and Caitlyn flagrantly fouled Angel.
Of course. Oh, yeah. I'm sure it was ugly.
And the whole discourse around the foul is the fact that Angel had the audacity to have a few words with her.
What she said, girl?
I don't know. Basketball smack talk. I mean, I played basketball. Dude, I talk shit.
Saying, girl.
All kinds of shit. All kinds of girl. I wanted you to come at me. I did. I run my mouth just like I do on this podcast. I would say so much. I used to take the ball and pretend to check it in people's faces just to see them jump, because that is the nature of the game. It's aggressive. It's in your face. It's fast. That's just how you play ball. Yeah. You get a foul. You foul me. I talk a little shit. We move on. But not the white people, girl. No. And the point of all of this is that Caitlyn fouled Angel, but the whole discourse is around how Angel responded. And that's how it is. It's like, they're not talking about her fouling. They're not talking about her being a great aggressive player. Like, she got to just play hard. That's how it works. None of that. None of that. Just how Angel is responding to being fouled. Damn. And I feel like that is the epitome of race relations in America. You know what I mean?
I do.
And that's it. Like, if they didn't have Angel there, like if it had been another white person that she'd fouled, all the little hot topic talk pieces that they're having online wouldn't even exist. They wouldn't have shit to say. They wouldn't have shit to say. And that is why I know personally that they can never live without Black people, because their identities significantly change when we're not there, because white supremacy is at the root of everything in this country.
Everything from the bottom to the top, to the top to the bottom. Oh, girl. Yeah. Girl, this story is something else. It really is. You know, there was a time in maybe the 1980s when, because Mama and them always had a Jet magazine, girl. That's how I got the news.
Yeah, it was I love that magazine.
And girl, when I read that, girl, it changed everything. There are some stories like that just change everything. Changes how you think. It redirects you. And this is one kind of story, and everything that I take from it. Girl, I take things from it every day. Like, it's cautionary tales. I don't tell my kids, like, hey, you watch these motherfuckers. They be out here. You be bumping and hopping along and living your life and being fabulous and being smart and savvy. And here these motherfuckers come. Ooh. And girl, I hope she's burning in hell. And, you know, I don't wish too many people burn in hell. But she needs to burn in hell.
She needs to burn in hell. She needs to burn in hell. All of them need to burn in hell. Like, when I read that they basically got damn near $50,000 to admit to murder.
Yeah.
And people will swear up and down that white privilege doesn't exist. And the crazy thing about it, I think that's one of the reasons that they don't like history and why they don't want to talk about Black history, because Black history then highlights the white history, and the white history is your freaking ancestors killing people. You know what I'm saying?
Girl.
That's got to be it, right? Because if you think about it, you don't have to pull that thread too hard.
Girl,
once it starts unraveling, it's just going to be, these atrocities were committed daily. The only reason that this even got as much play as it did, I think it's because it was supposed to highlight the differences between the North and the South, but B, it's because she made them bear witness to his body. She made the country bear witness to what was still happening. Still happening.
Ooh, that must have been a hard day.
Could you imagine?
Girl, you gotta put your baby up there, and you choose to because you want them to see. Girl, I bet you will never forget this day, motherfucker. And girl, they had it actually on the cover. And it was like,
I remember.
Girl, I could just, woo, there's nothing like it.
I remember. I definitely remember seeing that. You know what sucks though? In their haste to make sure that their history stays buried, it also starts to affect obviously our history, because I was on TikTok, and I know I say I'm on TikTok a lot, but audience, I promise you I'm not. I really did take a little detox from it. But if you're on there now, you know that it's a wretched place to be. Anyway, because it's just, you know what I mean? We got the presidential version came back, and it's just jarring how not fun. It's just highlighting how little fun everyone is having, right? But... And I couldn't even delve into this too much because it made me violently angry. But there was this creator who apparently didn't even fucking know who Emmett Till was. And she is a Black woman.
Oh.
Got on there flapping her gums about some shit, not knowing her history. I didn't even go too deep into it. I was just listening to people talk about the fact that she's a dumbass and co-signed it and moved on, because there's no way in hell that you're going to fucking tell me that you don't know who the fuck Emmett Till is. And if you don't, I think it's a real big injustice being done. And I think it sucks too, because I think it highlights the fact that there is a population of the Black community who has just laid down, rolled over, and let them dictate who and what they should be, how they should show up in the world, you know, based on those unspoken rules that we talked about. And they just toe tap right into fucking white supremacy.
Stephanie, how did it?
You know, fucking shucking and jiving, like, fucking tap, 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 tap.
No taps. Oh my God.
Just
all kinds of taps.
Fucking crazy. I couldn't believe that shit. And then it just made me sad, because I'm like, this is the country that we live in. There will never be absolution, because even the Black people are starting to forget our history.
Girl.
Because I feel like there's some kind of shame in knowing it. And that again is a tool of white supremacy, because why do we have to be ashamed about? The fuck do we have to be ashamed about?
Right.
That kid was literally just buying fucking gum. Just like Trayvon was just buying Skittles.
Girl.
Just existing, trying to get a little snacky poo. And there comes white supremacy with their fucking unspoken rules.
His ugly old head. It's like...
Ugly head.
Like, what? You know what? Even like... You used to work in retail, right?
I did.
And so did I. And girl, you know, sometimes you just gotta read the room. You got to be, I'm not saying read everybody's motherfucking thoughts, but you gotta, some things just have to really stand out to you and hit you all in the jibs. But anyway, if I would have saw Emmett Till coming up, I could see, oh, he's a city boy, because girl, he ain't dressed like nobody around here.
Correct.
He has even a different haircut. He maybe even has a haircut, because these people just don't just be...
Yeah.
Getting lined up and edged up. I don't know.
Yeah.
Girl, he's a city slicker. So what does that mean? Oh, shit. We should put some Blue's Clues together here. Oh, Northern. Okay, free. Doing it big. Not like me and Poduk.
Well, and that's the problem though, right? Because that's also another part of white supremacy, is like, they don't like to consider, like, they like to tell us that we're equal, but they don't like to consider us our equals. You know what I mean? And so that probably offended her even more. Like, look at this well-dressed, because I mean, we've seen kind of how we used to dress: suspenders, a shirt, a hat, pressed pants. So immediately she was probably like, this uppity nigger.
Who he think he is? You know he want this thing.
Yeah.
No,
yes.
We don't want you.
He wasn't.
Girl, give me this gum.
Yes, and let me be on my way, which wildly enough is what he did. He bought the shit and dipped, and those motherfuckers stewed for days.
Days, girl. How many days?
And you know how they get? She was probably, every time she told the story, it just probably got more and more violent because her first instinct was to go and get a gun. And the crazy thing about that, and this is one of the things that I will scream to the heavens every chance I get, is they have managed to convince the world that we're violent.
Yeah.
Your first instinct when a little boy was paying you for bubble gum was to go get a gun and what, shoot him?
Yeah, that was
your first fucking instinct.
That was it. Girl, imagine how evil you have to be having that as the first motherfucking thought. And then, girl over here, I ain't gonna name her Charlotte, but she was some kind of motherfucking spider weaving a goddamn web. Just a web. The girl, the lady.
Oh, like, she definitely was. She definitely was. Probably just made herself feel like the biggest damsel. Girl. He felt me up. He tried to grab my boob, like, you know, they had to exaggerate it.
He was all up on me trying to get me, girl. I didn't know what to do. You know how small I am.
Yep. He big brute. That big black brute. That's how they fucking do it. Because, you know what I'm saying? That's the fucking lies that they have to tell themselves to justify their hate.
Yeah. But you know what? That, you know, we talked about this the other day with old girl at the park calling the...
Oh, yes.
So what was her... What do you think? What was her thing? What the hell devil demon was up in there to make her call that child that name?
You know what I think it is? I think it goes back to what I touched on a little bit. I think that there's this feeling amongst white people that they're starting to lose stuff, right? And so because from what I understand, the land they
stole.
Yeah, you know, all the shit that they never, all of the things that they acquired by completely nefarious means, they're starting to lose, right? And I feel like because she said what happened, or she said, I'm not even going to give that bitch any credit. Okay. The story goes that the little boy took like a toy away from her kid or something. And that's how she chose to react and respond is to call him nigger like 17 times, so forth and so on. Girl. But that goes back to just how we're saying their hate is just at the surface for them.
Feeding. It's just
like that's where you go. Food. Girl, I don't even have children, but I can understand that they don't think about that shit in that way. If they want something, they go get it. You know what I mean? All she had to say was, this is not yours, this is his, and leave.
Yeah,
but no.
And then guess what you do? You teach somebody a lesson.
That's it. It's that simple. But that's not what they're here to do because, again, they don't understand community. Just like Till's fucking, the woman that, because I don't even want to say her name either. What can we call her? We'll call her the liar. Ooh. Just like the liar, her first instinct was to see this little kid as like a violent brute and respond in kind. You know what I mean?
I do.
First instinct. It's crazy that you bring that up because, I mean, the parallels, girl. The parallels. Like, we don't even have to draw them. They're just drawing themselves.
Girl, there it is. Girl, she go home and now girl, why did you even open your mouth on that kid?
Why did you even have to say anything? He's just a kid. But I think that they're really, again, the fact that we could actually become equal makes them so angry that they just act out in that way.
They do.
You know?
They be going all out.
And then, like, let's not even talk about the racists that rallied behind her to give that bitch almost $1 million. And what's crazy to me is these are also the same people that will complain about prices for shit, but will pay out their teeth towards racism. And I think, like, our current president is a perfect example of that. Like, these people live in houses that are taped together, stapled together. And you'll see, like, Trump flags, bumper stickers, just contributing to his bottom line. Yeah. Meanwhile, they're living horrid lives. And he has somehow convinced them that it's the black people's fault.
Yeah.
You know?
I do know. Oh, gosh.
I know.
Yeah, girl. This world. What do we say? We live in a world.
We live in a fucking society, man. It's crazy. Okay. But I will say, because it, this is a bit dark of an episode.
Yeah.
So I do kind of want to highlight the fact that I do believe the reason, again, that there's so much vitriol that we're starting to see from that population is because changes are coming. And I think one of the most beautiful recent examples of that is that old ass plantation burning to the motherfucking ground.
Oh, girl. The lady had
and you know
a bottle.
what's,
she was like,
what's even better?
Yes.
That's how we celebrate 2 snaps, baby girl.
Hello.
Because that was definitely our ancestors. And you know what's beautiful about it? Apparently it caught fire. The fire went out, so they thought that they were going to be able to save it, and that bitch lit right back up. The ancestors said,
Oh, they was like, no. Oh,
nope.
no, you will not.
This one goes to the ground.
Yeah.
We're burning it down to the ground. Yep.
Peace out, baby.
What was crazy to me was all the people that were so sad. All the white people.
Girl.
And one of them had
what's that the damn violin and shit.
You know they were.
Fiddle.
Because they were literally having if we think about this even just objectively, it's almost like having celebrations in like cemeteries. Because like they have weddings and all kinds of stuff at this plantation.
They do.
And it's like such a dark place to do that. Why would you do that?
Yeah.
And this one idiot had the audacity to say, why are you making it about race?
Why?
Bitch, the fucking slavery plantation?
All of that. Okay.
It was all about race. They want
people that enslaved black people that were living all up in there.
And absolutely probably died there too, Quite a few of them did.
Of course.
Because I've heard stories where where slave owners were so angry about the fact that they were going to lose like black people as assets, like the enslaved as assets, that rather than set them free, they would lock them into barns and burn them down.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
and
Stephanie.
So I know it's crazy. That's the thing. That's why they don't want to know history, because this is their history. Time and time again. Again, all you have to do is pull on that thread just a little bit, and it's going to lead back to some really, really violent shit. And that's what their history is based on. I think they want it painted as this, like, we're very smart and we're conquistadors and we're explorers and we've built things up. But the other side of that coin is always going to be violence.
Yeah.
Always. It's not like people
get that,
just...
sir. Oh,
yeah.
You don't even want to know.
Yeah.
Oh, I think I already know.
We think we already know. And that's why they don't... That's why I think they say that history is boring. Is because you have to kind of demonize it. Otherwise, too many people would be interested in knowing the real truth, Because history is just the truth. It's just a documented account of what has occurred. It's not like anything I read today is made up. It's all real. It's all real. They threw that kid in the fucking bottom of a lake.
They did.
Tortured him. Ooh. And then got paid nearly $50,000. Acquitted by an all-white jury.
It was a bro code.
Which still exists today.
Oh, all you bros. Oh, y'all some hoes.
All the bros are some hoes. Motherfuckers. That's actually why they don't want the hoes involved. You know what I mean? Because then they can continue to maintain this uncivil shit. This uncivil way of being. They don't like you asking questions because you ask too many questions and their true nature is going to become very apparent.
Yes. All up in there. Oh, Johnny, I can see you a mile away. You sucker.
Yes.
Girl, what you got? This looks delicious.
I'm eating a cutie. I'm trying to like holistically heal myself, Because I have, because of all the shit we're talking about, really started to distrust, everything, all of it, the whole fucking systems. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I don't trust them. I don't believe you. If you can't be honest with yourself, there's no way that you're being honest with me, you know? And so, yeah, I'm kind of really diving into like ways to kind of naturally keep myself healthy, because I don't want a doctor touching me. I don't want you looking at me. I want to stay as far away from any of these systems that have been built under white supremacy as I can.
Yes.
Speaking of which,
come on now, what you got?
Can we talk about the Black woman in Georgia that they're making stay on life support so that the fetus can stay alive? Have you heard the story?
No.
You haven't heard this story?
No, girl, I have not.
It is one of the saddest stories. Listen, I'm going to say her name, so let me look it up.
Come on now.
Because I want to really give her, I want to honor her as best I can.
Yes.
So her name is Aavirall Smith. And here's the most violent thing about this. Speaking of these systems. So I'm just going to read this, okay? So, loved ones say the ordeal began on Feb 9 when Aavirall Smith complained of persistent headaches. She reportedly sought help at 2 different hospitals, but according to her family, she was given medication with no test or proper examinations. Just days later, on Sunday morning, she was found unresponsive, and doctors determined she was brain dead. However, because she's in the fucking South, again... she was just, she's just 2 months along in her pregnancy at the time. Georgia's fetal heartbeat law required that she remained on life support.
What?
So she has been on life support since February 9th because she is pregnant, and they've got all these fucked up abortion laws on the books now. And it's wild because one of the things that I heard so much when people were talking about, oh, you're pro-abortion, was they kept saying, what rights are you losing? What rights are you losing? And the interesting thing about it is I don't think I could have ever quantified it in this way. These rights, babe. The rights to fucking live and die with dignity. And the thing about it is white people could never have seen this coming because as we talked about in one of our previous podcasts, it's always been us that's been the test case. So of course it's a Black woman that they're going to make stay on life support to support a fetus. Of course it is. It was never going to be you. It never has been you.
Oh, goodness.
These are the rights that we lose. The rights to live and die with dignity. And the thing about it is it's sick as fuck because the baby, her body isn't providing anything to this child.
Right.
There's nothing to, it's not being supported anymore. The baby's not going to live either. But they love to take a Black body and make it a medical use case though.
They do.
And I think the argument that a lot of people are making that I believe is that this is kind of one of the nefarious first steps because they just want to see if bodies can incubate, you know? What else is the real reason, right?
No,
like, come on. There's no real reason because I think they are just, again, it's just like all the shit that they like to test with our bodies, with Black bodies. They're just trying to see, like, can they still sustain life? I mean, in a real fucked up world, our bodies are sustaining their white lives. Much like we have since the beginning of this fucking founding of the country. A lot of these people's ancestors sucked at the teat of Black women.
All up on there, girl.
So it's something that they're really used to, but because they like to play down history, it's not something that they ever really talk about. They don't talk about it publicly, but I know these motherfuckers talk about it privately.
Oh, girl.
You know they know.
They sure do.
Yeah, so it's egregious. Some of the things that are happening right now in this country. I mean, if I were like truly religious, I mean, I would absolutely see this as end times. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, because how else can you look at it? Like, there's so much just chaos. And what's wild is that ultimately, it's kind of one person that sparked it all. And to me, that's end days. Yeah. Like, the devil's here, guys.
All up in here.
The devil's here.
Posing.
And the problem is the version of Christianity that exists today supports it.
It does.
So it's like, we're really going to have to save ourselves. Yes. So again, yeah, I'm trying to find ways to sustain systems within my home that don't touch any of y'all, because I know how, like, y'all aren't even hiding it anymore.
They don't.
In every aspect of life, whether it's basketball, you're trying to demonize that basketball player, whether you're using this black woman's body to test and see if ultimately, you know what I'm saying? It's all over.
That's what they be doing, girl. They so jealous. Girl, you got that right. You speaking it. You are doing it. You are really talking about it. Because that's exactly how it is.
Any chance they get.
Any chance. You had me dying about that basketball team, though, girl. What they be saying?
You know, it's crazy, though. Because one of the things that makes me... This is what I want to understand. Like, we should really study, like, I don't even know how you would study this, because they'd love to say racism doesn't exist. Stop making everything about race. In the moment that black girl steps to the fucking free throw line, they're like making monkey noises and calling her a nigger. So I'm like, okay. I'm sorry. Maybe we just aren't defining racism the same way. Yeah. Maybe that's the problem.
There's those words again. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, again. Maybe we are just not thinking about it in the same way, because all I have to do, and I know this for a fact because I did it on fucking TikTok and they came at me like foaming at the mouth, was say the words white man and y'all are offended. And you're supposed to expect me to believe that monkey noises and calling people nigger is a joke?
What are we supposed to call them?
Y'all can't take a joke. So if y'all can't take a joke, you should stop fucking making them. Right?
Correct.
Shit's not funny anymore.
It's not.
And I think that's ultimately what it is they now we're saying that shit's not funny, and they're really just like, you know how they like to be all offended just about fucking everything. You don't think me calling you a nigger is funny? I'm just a kid, dude. That's what the kids like to say on the internet. I'm just a kid, dude. I don't give a fuck. Everybody can get it.
Just a kid, dude. Yeah, there is.
Everybody can get it from me. And I was actually thinking about that. Because
I was playing a prank.
Yeah, right?
I'm a kid.
That's exactly right. I was playing a prank. I'm gonna bust up into this guy's house and lose my life. Like, that guy should have just let you in? What was funny about it? At 3 a.m. in the morning, what is funny about it? They have, and it goes back to what we're talking about. They have the sickest sense of humor, and it's all rooted in violence.
Yeah.
I could never see myself. I mean, that's what I'm saying. I'm really gobsmacked and trying to understand what's so fucking funny about that.
Mm-hmm. Nothing.
No one's laughing now. Your friend's dead. It's not that funny, is it?
He's out.
And honestly, part of me is like, if they charge that man for murder,
yeah,
I feel like we should take to the streets. Because they love to talk about 2A rights, gun rights. You'll have to pry my gun from my cold dead hand, all that bullshit. And then we use a gun to defend our literal home. And I'm a murderer?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think so. That's not how this shit works.
No, this is not how this shit works at all.
Not anymore. Not anymore. So shit, hopefully it'll be a lesson and these motherfuckers will stop trying to make jokes, because shit's not funny.
It's not. It is not, girl. Never, like the kids used to say, not funny. Just this girl, the topic of this should be just a kid.
Because wasn't he just a little baby boy? He wasn't playing any fucking pranks. Homeboy was just trying to get a snack.
Pranks. He was just trying to go get a little snacky poo, a little gum, you know.
Had spent time helping fucking nourish the South and their fucking cotton industry, because the people were still in 1955 picking cotton.
Still picking cotton.
And even that's not good enough for you. You can't even just fucking say, thanks for the labor. Thanks for the mostly free labor.
Oh, but when
there's a lot they're still not
antebellums
saying things for.
burn
Shit.
down to the ground, when plantations going on and in flames, girl, in flames, girl.
Then there come the
It must
tears.
have, that was the only way for it to go.
That was the
Even
only way
if
for
they
it to
would have
go.
abandoned it and it would have deteriorated, that wouldn't have done it no good. You need to burn that motherfucker down to the ground,
To the
baby.
ground. It will not be resurrected.
Girl, just like the juice joint in Sinners, girl, that thing had to come down, baby.
That's it. Burn it.
Had to.
I feel like spontaneous fires should pop up on the rest of them. Shit.
Yes, girl.
I'm saying that's what we need to be calling on our ancestors for. Like, hey, baby, we've seen what you have done once.
Thank you.
We know you got it in you.
Okay.
We're here. We'll pour, like you said, that woman is pouring out libations. We'll pour out some libations again.
Boots on the ground. We know you love a good boot, baby.
That's right. You go ahead and you do your thing, and we will energetically support you every step of the way.
Every step.
Burn it to the ground. But what's crazy is I don't think that, I'm actually certain that whites don't understand that when we say burn it to the ground, that's what we mean. I think they think about it a lot more theoretically. And it's like, no.
No,
this shit's got to go to the ground.
Girl, you know they love their property.
They love their property.
Girl, I wonder how many damn rooms it had. 13.
Actually, let's look it up. I want to look it up. It was actually pretty big. Like, pretty huge. Every time I read it, I just laugh. I know, I'm like chuckling because it just makes me laugh.
Oh, goodness gracious, yes.
Okay, so it was America's largest remaining antebellum plantation.
Oh.
The largest one, and it burned to the ground after a fire broke out on Thursday. No one died, obviously. But let's hold on. Oh, it was a 64-room mansion. Built in the late 1850s, 53,000 square feet. And in addition to all of the rooms, I'm reading Fox, so take this for what you will. It contained 365 doors and 22 white columns, and it overlooked the Mississippi River.
365 doors? Mm-hmm. And 2 columns?
22.
22, girl. Oh, Lord. Yeah, girl, it was bound to burn, baby.
Yep, it was bound to burn.
All those numbers alone are just telling you it's pretty much it. You done had your day, baby.
Had your day,
when you finished it with the 365, you already knew.
Done. Wrap it up. Because, I mean, this is the year. This is the year that it's all going to fall away. It's going to be rough for a lot of people. Because, I mean, I think a lot of shit's going to fall away. But that means this shit too, guys. Say goodbye to your little parties at the plantations, okay?
Girl, the weddings. Girl, the funerals. Girl.
No, why?
How dare you return to this every year?
Every year. No, listen, it had 40 overnight rooms, a bar, a restaurant, an event space, a pool, and tennis courts.
Ooh, wee.
Isn't that crazy? Like these motherfuckers were literally partying at plantations. I think it's the craziest thing. Girl. I can't even imagine. Like, I don't get it. I just don't get it. To me, it just feels like literally having all that shit in a cemetery. Like, cause you know what I mean? And that's the distinction between us is they see antebellum as glory and we see it as violence, you know?
Yeah.
And they want to be left alone to celebrate it. And here's the thing, you can literally do whatever you want. Like, let's be honest, you're still the freest among us in this motherfucking country. Yep. But we don't have to like it.
We don't.
And that's what pisses them off. Is that we're not just sitting silently anymore. We're literally saying, fuck you and your fucking plantation. And your fucking wedding at the plantation. And the fact that you even want to have a fucking wedding at the plantation. And the fact that you don't want to talk about the real history.
What's the planning in that? Girl, you used to be a planner, girl. A party planner, a wedding planner. Tell me, what would we be saying? What would we be saying? I need a
honestly, I don't.
That says
Yes. That says white is right. I don't
White
know.
is right, and we'll love until the war is over. I mean, the Civil War. I mean, oh my God, you don't even know about.
Yeah. Yeah. They're like, there wasn't a
Okay,
war. It was just a
it
disagreement.
was just a disagreement. They were like so like, oh,
And much like Trump, they're like, it was a disagreement that we won. You know,
ooh,
right? Because
yeah,
they love to fucking like revise history. It's
they
like, no,
do.
you lost. You went to
You
war with
lost.
America and you fucking lost.
That's what you
And
did.
even though things look a little dire right now, you're
Mhm.
trying to go to war with America again and you will lose again.
You will lose again.
And this time, if some of us go down, we're taking some of you down with us.
Gotta go down. You got to. It's that time. It's that time. They was partying and celebrating, and the other side was sad, slow drags on the violin and the fiddle
Mm-hmm.
and the banjo, and like, oh
Mm-hmm.
my God, so many flags, girl. Could you imagine? The flags probably got sold out, girl. They were like,
Yikes.
"Woo! This is our last hurrah. Go put your flag down at the
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Quick
I was
Trip.
reading
Is
a
Quick
book
Trip coming?
and I don't know, it was like a fictional book, but it was so, oh my
What
God,
was
it's
it?
such a good book. It's called All Sinners Bleed, and it's by this author called S.A. Crosby. He's a black man, and this book was fucking amazing.
Wait a
And
minute, girl.
basically,
Wait. What's it called now? All
it's
Sinners
called
Bleed?
All Sinners Bleed.
Okay. Let's get
And
it.
it actually was set in Virginia,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like it was interesting because we're history girlies, we like history, and it had a lot of like kind of that area's history woven into it. And the
Mm-hmm.
reason why I bring this up is because you talk about flags, but yes, there are still today in Virginia places that make flags.
Yeah.
They're still producing them in America. They're still shipping them out across the country. So that was one of the ways that the South was trying to get a little money back in their pocket, was to fucking make some flags so they could keep them raised up even as their legacy was coming to an end.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. You know it. You know they love a good flag, a good statue.
Girl.
They love.
What's the
They
other
love.
name? Monument. Girl. Is this a monument? Do you know the definition of monument? Girl, I don't think these girls won't even participate in such a contest of monuments, okay?
Agreed.
Because y'all.
Agreed. Yeah, no, they love the symbolism, but not the reality behind what that shit stands
Mm-hmm.
for. Because
Yeah.
here's the thing, I've said it all the time, as someone who has, as I've gotten older, become a terrible, terrible person. It just kind of is what it is. I say what I mean what I say. I stand
Mm-hmm.
behind all the shit I've ever done, some of it which has been awful. And that's the
Okay.
thing that pisses me off about them, is the fact that they just fucking own it. Just own it. And they can't bring themselves to.
Oh, so sad.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I
fuck
remember.
it. Yeah, they were racist shit. But the
Mm-hmm.
reason why I think they can't is because they like it.
They do.
And they'd also have to admit that as well. Like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
we still believe that shit. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
say it with your full chest. The problem is
Girl.
that they don't like to be held accountable. And I was listening to this story about this guy. Gosh, I think I'm going to do a story on him. But his name was like, his last name I think was like Bonner. And he basically talks about kind of the reason that Nazism was able to take root. And quite frankly, he says because it appealed to the lowest base, and these people are stupid. That was it. And you can't
He dropped the
reason.
mic.
Drop the mic straight up. You
Ooh.
can't reason with stupidity. Like, that's why, like, sometimes I think people are trying to have like real conversations with them, and I'm like, you're trying to reason with stupidity and you can't. One
Mm-hmm.
of the only things that works is shame.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things they hate to feel. So that's
Oh,
why
they
they
do.
can't own it, because they don't want you to be able to shame them.
Oh, goodness. They'll take humiliation all day long.
Do you think? I don't even think they'll take humiliation.
Girl,
I think that even that makes
I
them
think that's
so
their
angry.
girl, that's the get down right there.
Oh my gosh, give me an example. I don't think they like to be
for real, bring the circus back along with, a good old circus. Well, maybe we will leave the elephants out this time because,
Girl,
elephants.
we are living in a circus.
I know,
we
girl,
are living in a circus.
Bring it back. Oh, girl. Oh, Lord.
Anywho, well, should we wrap up the story of Rod Serling? One of the things that I love about this, because I used to be big on wanting to leave a fucking legacy. And I don't know how I feel about that anymore. It's actually really funny because I wrote a letter to myself in 2010. I was with a bunch of coworkers and we all sat around the table and wrote like a letter to our future selves. And we're like, okay, we can't open it until 10 years. And 10 years just happened to be in 2020. It was actually, ironically enough, in February of 2020, right before the world as we know it changed forever. And in that letter to myself, I was like, you're going to leave a great legacy. And it was like, oh, poor young Stephanie. She really thought that this world was going to be good to her. But anyway.
Really thought that this shit was going to be like, oh, no.
Yeah, it definitely did turn out how I thought. But I think that what a beautiful legacy for him to leave. Because the facts of the matter are, the Twilight Zone only exists because of Emmett Till.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.